The HK45 Compact, let's check it out. HK is known to be one of the top gun manufacturers in the world. Starting in 1948 in Germany, these guns are super dependable, they're accurate, and they're just built like tanks. And that's one of the reasons why the U.S. military and their special forces have used these in a number of units. From the HK45 and then the HK45C, which we're looking at today specifically. This is known as the Mark 24 Mod 0. And this was actually a gun that was used during the raid against Ben Laden. Now, the HK45 was developed to make improvements over the USP series, which has been a really popular firearm with U.S. Special Forces for a number of years. With the HK45 and 45C, these were to be introduced in the U.S. military pistol trials to replace the Beretta M9. Now, when HK was developing the HK45, they worked with Larry Vickers and Ken Hackathorn to develop this pistol. This has also been adopted by the U.S. Special Warfare Command as the Mark 24 Mod 0. And that just speaks volumes of this pistol and the trials that they go through. But that's no surprise with an H&K. First thing we're going to do is make sure the gun is unloaded, drop your magazine, and it is empty. Now, one of the big changes was in the grip area. One of the things about the USP is it's a pretty beefy gun. Of course, the HK45 is no small pistol. It is shooting 45 ACP, but in the grip especially, it's much more ergonomic in my opinion. It does have the 1911 grip angle, which is really great for those that are accustomed to the 1911, which makes it very pointable. Now, the HK45 full size holds 10 rounds, which is 2 rounds less than the USP full size, which holds 12. The compact holds 8 rounds. You have a steel magazine. It has this lip on it. HK makes really good high quality magazines, and the price reflects that. A lot of times these can run up to about 50 bucks a piece. But the grip between the compact and the full size is a completely different design. This is more like the 2000 series on the HKs, whereas the full size is more like the P30. Honestly, I like the grip better on the full size because it's very ergonomic, but the 2000 does not have the finger grooves, which a lot of people like, and that makes it a little more compact in the grip. One thing too I like is this little cut right here. When you're taking out your magazines, you can strip them out if you have a double feed, and you're able to get a hold of it and pull it out a little bit easier. But these pistols are still pretty large. I mean, even though this is a compact, just means that it's smaller than the HK45 full size. The slide length is 7 1/4 inches. It's 5 1/2 inches in height, and it's about 1 1/2 inches in width. So it gives you, though, a lot of gripability with the gun. It's a full-size gun, and when shooting 45 ACP, that's really nice. The frame is a reinforced polymer frame. Now, one of the things about HK is they were the first to develop a polymer framed handgun. Stemming from the MP5s, which have a polymer frame, they began to make the VP70. And a lot of people think the Glock was the first, but actually the HK VP70 was the first polymer framed handgun. With this, though, there's a lot of technology that's gone in to developing these frames. It does have a removable back strap, which this is the smaller. It has a medium, which goes a little bit away from the 1911 grip angle. As you can see, the texturing is kind of a raindrop pattern, and then at the back you have just a really aggressive texturing, and on the front. But not too aggressive to where it interferes or agitates your hand. And really the front and back are the most important parts to have a little more texturing. With this little lip on the magazine though, it does give you a good ledge so your hand doesn't feel like it's going to slide off, which I like. And if you have larger hands though, this may interfere just a little bit. One thing too is the mag release is in the new paddle design, and even though I did it with my thumb, it's really designed to be able to take your trigger finger and release it, and I find that is really nice. I don't have to ever change my grip to get the mag release, and that's one of the things even better than when you're using the frame mounted safety or mag release right here, which a lot of people like because that's just what we've been using here, is at least American shooters. But I'm getting more and more to where I love this mag release style. It does have a 1913 Picatinny rail on the front, and of course with the full size it's a little bit larger. And the bore axis is fairly high, more like your SIG or other pistols, and there's a big debate about that. A lot of guys really like the low bore axis, which I'm one of those. I personally think that it actually rides lower in your hand, and it allows for better recoil mitigation. But that's just my personal opinion. There's a lot of guys that think that that's not true. So again, it's just a matter of personal preference. While we've got it here, the sights are a 3-dot sight. These are just luminescent. They're not night sights. They do glow because they're charged. But they are a low snag, and you can see it's just almost like the Novak, really close and low snag here. It has front and rear cocking serrations, which are very generous. I mean, it's really easy to get that rear cocking serration, and if you like to do press checks or you like to rack your slide from here, definitely an advantage. And most of your modern pistols now are coming in with the front cocking serrations. Now we have the hammer back, so I'm going to demonstrate. This is double single action, so we've got it on fire. We can decock it like this, but then it goes back up into fire, and that means that we can still pull the trigger and actuate the hammer. Or if you like to carry it cocked and locked, you can do that as well. I really like that system. And then of course bring it down if you want to keep it in a safe position that way. They do make just a double action only, they make a single action only, and then they make the LEM trigger, which is really kind of a double action only type trigger, where it's already pre-cocked, and when you pull the trigger it's a real smooth and lighter weight trigger pull. I have that on my P30, which I like. Takes a little getting used to if you're not used to it, but this is also a very good system in my opinion. Now, one of the things about it is your single action trigger pull is a lot lighter, and yet the double action trigger pull is a lot heavier. In fact, it's about 11.5 pounds. Getting into the single action, it's really about 5 or 4.5 pounds. So it's a big disparity difference. But one of the things about it, especially if you're carrying cocked and locked or in subsequent shots, it's going to be in that rear position, so you'll have single action every time you fire it. But the safety is not ambidextrous. You can switch it to the other side, but it is for right-handed shooters. You do have your slide release, which is ambidextrous, to go along with the mag release, obviously, that's ambidextrous as well. The slide has a nitro-carburized treatment, and this means that it is very resistant to salt spray, very resistant to wear even in hard use. There is an anti-glare ridge that's built into the top of the slide just to keep the glare off of your sights. The barrel is just under 4 inches. It is a cold hammer forged polygonal barrel. One of the big advantages of a cold hammer forged barrel is that it'll give you longer barrel life, period. And not only that, but having the polygonal grooves will also increase your barrel life. One of the things that polygonal barrels do, and I know Glock uses them, the way the polygonal grooves fit to the bullet, it actually seals the propellant. So when you fire the round, it seals the gases to propel that bullet much more efficiently. With the lands and grooves, the propellant slides through and the gases can go around the bullet. And that can actually lead to more fouling and things like that. And so the polygonal barrel supposedly gives you even better accuracy. Now, beside the cold hammer forged barrel and the polygonal grooves that will extend life, there's also a recoil reducing system that HK uses, and it actually reduces recoil up to 30% according to HK. And these guns are rated for about 20,000 round service life minimum, which, you know, these can go well beyond that. But they are rated for 45 plus P, which, you know, using plus P ammunition will definitely wear on your gun quicker, but these guns can handle it. There are threaded barrels available for these if you want the threaded. Now there is the tactical model, which already has a threaded barrel and other features, and it's pretty expensive compared to the HK45 and the 45C. Shooting this gun at the range is a pleasure in 45 ACP. It's definitely some more recoil, but it seems to come more back in your hand than flips. Something, and I know it has to do with that recoil system, but it's very ergonomic. Really, the full-size pistol is more like the P30 in the grip, and I have a feeling that it is much more even ergonomic. This is a kind of a straight wall, but still it gives you a good natural point of aim. The decocker on here makes it nice if you want to bring that round back and just get it out of the way, or if you like to carry it cocked and locked, it makes it nice. I typically like cocked and locked, so it was really great to be able just to bring that safety up, do what I needed to do, and then I could drop the safety. And I want to thank Freedom Munitions for sending the ammo, both the standard 230 grain full metal jacket and the Pro Match. This is 230 grain, but it has this jacketed hollow point. And these have just done very well, and not any malfunctions or anything, and I just really appreciate those guys for sponsoring the ammo. Shooting 10 yards using Freedom Munitions Pro Match, and that's their 230 grain jacketed hollow points. And decent group at 10 yards. One of the things about the sights on this pistol is there's a lot of space in between. So it's really easy to get off one or the other. I'm not making excuses for my accuracy because it's still pretty decent. But you know, you really had to concentrate to get it. In fact, when I first started shooting this pistol, I was seeming to shoot it low. Whenever I would rapid fire, I would just go low. And this is really what the gun's capable of at 10 yards. I did this when I first came down just to make sure that my sights were on, and obviously they were on. We had no malfunctions with the Freedom Munitions, both their standard 230 grain new manufactured and their Pro Match 230 grain jacketed hollow points. Just fed well in the pistol. You know, I got a comment a while back about, you know, how my guns seem to always work. And that's not necessarily the case, but honestly, if you're buying a new firearm, a modern firearm, and it's malfunctioning, it's not just typical. That's a real problem, and or you're shooting it wrong. But honestly, my guns, they don't have malfunctions, or I send them back, or, you know, I have them fixed. Because you can't depend on a gun that malfunctions. And HK is dependable. It's been proven for a long time. One of the things I do like, and I'm becoming more and more a big fan, is that paddle mag release on either side of the trigger. And I find myself using my trigger finger as much as I do my left hand, because I don't have to adjust my grip at all to hit that trigger finger. Even with the paddle, I've got to bring it around and hit it. Mags went in very easily. The little lip on the magazine gives you just a really good solid feel, a lot of confidence. And shooting 45 ACP, it really helps. Now we're going to break the pistol down. We're going to remove our magazine, double check to make sure the gun is empty. Now taking your slide, bring it back and line it up where the first part of the slide stop meets this little cutout area. Then on the back, at the part of the slide stop, there's a little dot, and you push that little pin in, and then you can pull out your slide stop all the way. Now you can just release, and you don't have to pull the trigger to disassemble. Now one of the unique features of the HK is its recoil system. And this is a recoil reducing guide rod, and you have a buffer here and with the flat spring. And number one, the flat spring is designed to reduce your recoil. Your buffer is actually to also help reduce recoil, but also cushion when the slide comes to the rear. And not only does that help with recoil, but it also keeps the wear down on your pistol. So this will also add, along with the polygonal and the cold hammer forged barrel, it will extend the service life of the pistol even longer. Next we have the Browning linkless design and the lockup, as you can see, and then we have this little gasket. It's a rubber gasket that fits around the barrel. Now a lot of times that's kind of an unusual thing, but what this does, it actually allows the barrel to really seal with the slide, and that gives much better accuracy. The gun does come with about 5 extras of these. Now here are the internals in the frame, and of course with the double action, single action hammer, and then your locking block is really recessed into the pistol. And then you have your slide rails here and here, or your frame rails. And then here's the interior of the slide. And one of the things about these pistols is they're just really well finished, and that's just typical for HK. And that's all you need to do to field strip the pistol. Just go in reverse order to reassemble. Lock in our barrel. The recoil spring and guide rod, it doesn't fit into the lugs of the barrel, it fits kind of on top. But you'll notice how it fits when you put it in. Then we go ahead and bring over our slide. Get it lined up with that cut in the slide. Drop it in. And you're good to go. One great thing about these pistols too is there's no magazine disconnect, which I hate. And we're ready for the range. Now we get the HK box with the HK logo. We're going to open it up. One of the things about HK, their box is not all that spectacular, which a lot of times with pistols that are as expensive as the HK, you would typically expect a little different. But for me, I don't use these boxes anyway. You do get 2 8-round magazines. You get your wonderful gun lock. You get your extra back strap. You get an assortment of O-rings for your barrel. And then you get this little tool. And there's no real explanation at first that I could find about this tool. But if you take your magazine out of your gun, there's a little place right here that you can take this and lock your gun out if you like to do that. So that's just an option. I personally don't like those kind of things because it's just another part that could go wrong. But if you need to lock out your gun, that's the way to do it. It also comes with a very detailed operator's manual. There's a lot of good things in here, and honestly guys, I would suggest that you read through this. It's really concise. Now the HK45 is one of the first to be produced in the United States from HK, made right in Newington, New Hampshire, and so that is pretty cool that they're bringing production here in the US. They do make a tan version, and they also make an OD version and a couple of two-tone versions as well. So there's a lot of different options. But this pistol, you know, is expensive, but guys, I'm telling you, it's HK quality and it's worth the money if your budget allows. The current retail price on the HK45C is $1,199. You can typically find this in a lot of gun shops for around the $900 range. Give or take 50 bucks on either side, just according to where you live. They do offer the 10-round magazines for the states that are not so free. And this gun is definitely expensive, but for really good quality, there's a price. And HK pays the price to make the good quality, and if you want this pistol, you pay the price. I want to thank HK particularly because they did send this pistol for the review. And again, like usual, I can buy it if I want, or I can send it back. It's HK, I'm buying it. That's enough testimony right there. But I always say that before you purchase any firearm, look at a number of reviews and see what's best for you. There may be something that someone else has had a different experience with, maybe something that you can relate more to. So check out the different ones. I know I do before I purchase a pistol. Now as far as pros and cons, pros are pretty evident. It is an HK, it's made to high quality standards, and they just perform. Just great pistols all the way around. With the 45 ACP and with the recoil reducing recoil spring and just the extended barrel life, this is just a great gun to own, especially if this is something that you really want to depend your life on, especially for home defense. But it is still small enough to conceal carry if you like carrying a larger frame pistol. As far as cons go, of course, price is a factor. Now, to me, price is not a con because it just is what it is. Just like a brand new Corvette costs what it does, or a Lamborghini for that matter. But this pistol is not just one of the more inexpensive pistols. You're going to pay a premium price for it. Is it going to be worth it to you? That's for you to decide. Secondly, I think the bore axis for me is typically a little higher than I like, but I find myself shooting guns with higher bore axes just as well as I do with those that don't. And there's a big debate about that, obviously. One thing, though, that I did have a few issues with at the range was getting it on sight. Seemed like that I was wanting to shoot low and felt like I had the sight picture right. And I think some of that had to do with the space in between the sights. There's a nice little gap in between, and I think trying to find that gap, I wasn't keeping my eye on the front sight, and that's user error. They do make aftermarket sights for this if I want to get something a little different, but I think once you get used to it, you're spot on. And HK is a legend in the firearm world. You know, they're built like tanks, they're accurate, they're made to precision specs, and it shows. Of course, the price is more, but you're getting what you pay for. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. One of the great things about Cold Hammer Forged, one of the big qualities of Cold Hammer, one of the big advantages, a little better. Now you'll notice there is a, but if you want other information, but I always tell people, but I always say that before you purchase, and it is a really high quality pistol. Cat fight.
One more time.